The use of masks in Greek and Roman theater started with the rituals that surrounded the worship of Dionysus, the Greek god of wine and fertility. Storytelling, musical performances, and other shows were part of Dionysus's festival, which gave rise to organized theater. The mask served two practical purposes. First of all, because audiences at Greek and Roman performances could number in the thousands, the larger-than-life size of the masks allowed audience members in the upper reaches of the Colosseum to see the actors. Secondly, the mouth of the mask was molded in the shape of a megaphone, so that the actor's voice would carry throughout the entire audience. Also, because the size of the audience and its distance from the stage, Greek and Roman masks often expressed one strong emotion, so that the audience would be able to identify what emotion was driving that character's motives. Oftentimes, actors needed to play more than one role, and the masks allowed them to switch characters with ease as to avoid audience confusion. Finally, women were not allowed to perform, so male actors would wear the masks that represented female characters. While Greek and Roman masks could be considered emotive, the masks of Japanese Noh Drama were considered neutral or abstract. This was to allow the audience to impose their own emotions onto the mask. The actors were therefore required to express emotion based on the tilt of the mask and their body language. Japanese Noh Drama used 4 different styles of masks with 80 different variations. The masks were for the elders, ghosts and spirits, demons, and humans. Once again, women were not allowed on stage. Men performed the female roles. Now let's focus on the Italian Renaissance and the Commedia dell'Arte. The reasons and purposes for Commedia masks were entirely new. First of all, most of these masks were half masks, leaving the mouth and chin exposed. Because physicality is a large part of Commedia performance, this allowed actors to physicalize using their mouths along with their bodies. Secondly, because Commedia troupes traveled throughout Italy, where languages varied between regions, the masks immediately allowed the audience to identify the character. There are 3 character types in the Commedia: the vecchi, or the old men, the zani, or the clowns, and the innamorati, or the lovers. The masks were relegated to the old men and the clowns, as the lovers never wore masks. The mask of Arlecchino, or Harlequin, the most famous of the zani, was black with a low forehead and small round eyes. The mask of the zani Brigella was black or olive-colored, and often more menacing and cynical than Arlecchino. While Arlecchino was more playful and clown-like, Brigella was more brutal, vicious, and arrogant. Finally, the zani Pedrolino was childish and naive, and dressed in all white, which was also the color of his mask. He was often sad and mute, and sometimes instead of a mask, his face was simply colored white. This gave him more freedom of expression than the other zani. As for the old men, there are 3 that wore their own distinct masks. The first is Pantalone, a miserly and horny old man who was often the butt of the zani's cruelty. His mask consisted of a long hooked nose, wrinkles, and bushy eyebrows, sometimes a mustache, and a pointed beard that jutted forward to meet his nose. The mask of Il Dottore covered only the nose and forehead, allowing for his cheeks to be reddened, suggesting his fondness for drink. His nose was either bulbous or snout-like, with bushy eyebrows or a mustache. Finally, Il Capitan, the braggart soldier, had a long phallic nose, wide eyes, and an exaggerated handlebar mustache. One of the greatest achievements of the Commedia was that women were allowed to perform the female roles. Female characters, whether lovers or zani, never wore masks.